Welcome to R&R Showtime with Robert.
And Ryan.
And today is going to be an odd episode, you could say. Weird. Queer, even.
Well, yeah, most of our episodes are queer when I'm on. But
we're talking about Doctor Strange.
Oh, are we? Damn. Yeah. Sorry, Moon Knight fans.
Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. We just saw it on opening day.
At Doctor Strange and the Mom.
Yes, Doctor Strange and the Mom, which is an abbreviation, but also quite literal because...
so spoilers ahead.
Spoilers ahead. If you click this fucking video without having watched it, well, yeah. I mean, just you should have expected that. So we'll just hop right into that. Yeah, quite literally, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is pretty much centered around Doctor Strange and Wanda, the Scarlet Witch.
The mom.
The literal mom. Yeah. And she basically becomes she is the villain of this story in no small part at all.
She's just explicitly the bad guy, murders many innocent people, most notably John Krasinski, but others as well.
Yeah, literally tears John Krasinski into ribbons.
Yeah, it's pretty tight.
Man, I don't even know how he thought he was gonna. They're all superheroes and stuff, but he really just literally just died. Like, he shouldn't even have been there.
I've heard the comparison to Invincible, and it's hard to not notice it after you hear that.
What I really love is that this kind of highlights the idea that not every superhero is appropriate for every supervillain, right? There's so many comics, just as commentary, where it's like any practical hero against any villain, and they overcome it in whatever ways and whatnot. And in the movies, definitely see the same thing, right? How is Hawkeye and Black Widow on the same battlefield as the rest of the Avengers? Well, because they can just hold their own.
They can help, and they help with tactics and stuff like that.
They help in their own ways.
Yeah. And look, in What If, they were the ones that seemed to survive apocalypses. So
yeah,
they were pivotal members.
You may even say, when a person has less powers or is less powerful, they sort of take their life more seriously. They don't rely on their invulnerability as much. Mm-hmm. That moment there when Wanda just absolutely ruins the Avengers of that universe,
the Illuminati.
Yeah, the Illuminati. Avengers. Yeah, the Avengers of that. Whatever. It's the equivalent, essentially. The team of people that watch over the Earth.
Yeah. So, so we're sort of digressing too quickly.
Yeah, we jumped in the deep end of the pool.
So after when we finished watching the movie, you asked me for a grade, and I told you to give yours first. So I'm gonna say that again. What's your letter grade?
My letter grade, and I had this thought about halfway through the movie, and I kept watching it and pretty much was like, yeah, this is pretty much how I feel, is I'm going to give it a B. And I'm leaning almost towards a B plus in some ways, but B feels very, I don't feel bad about a B. I don't know if I can get up to a B plus.
So you told me B, and I responded B plus, and having time to think about it, B feels better. B feels more correct. And I feel like B, normally you would think, oh, that's a pretty solid recommendation. But it's a B for me though. When's the last Marvel movie, MCU movie, that I saw that I would have given a B to? It's been years yeah, it's hard for me to. Captain Marvel, I think, is the last time I saw a MCU movie that I gave under an A minus.
Yeah. See, watching this movie, this is the blurb that I want to tell anybody that asks about it is stunning visuals, right?
So good.
The visuals in this are great. And that's one of the real highlights in the movie is there's so many great things to literally physically see. When I say physically see, I mean,
yeah. If you're going to see this movie, see it in a theater.
Yeah. See it in a theater, see it on the big screen, see it on the XD screen, 3D, maybe even if you enjoy 3D type movies. So stunning visuals. There are some things in this movie that I really like, right? Yes. There's moments and certain way of things that they do that are just awesome, great moments.
So I think this is actually a fairly popular opinion. though maybe not. I think the Sam Raimi-ness of this movie is one of its strengths, because the most obvious weakness to this movie is the script and the characterization. But the flourishes that Sam Raimi gives to it gives the movie moments of character that otherwise would leave this movie feeling like such a hollow, like, MCU puzzle piece.
Yeah. And the final part of my blurb would be, but there's a lot of things I would criticize.
Yeah.
A lot of small moments and a lot of big moments, frankly. And so let's just go through some specific things that we can remember that are either really good or really bad.
So I actually want to start with probably my biggest problem with the movie. And I didn't even realize that it was my biggest problem with the movie at first until I listened to a reviewer bring it up. And it's probably the use/misuse/ like literal just sort of prop of a character that is America Chavez, who I'm not saying that the character is bad or that the actress does a bad job. She does a fine job. Like, she really gives emotion in the little bit of chances she does have emotion in the movie, but she doesn't have a personality whatsoever. And she's way too pivotal to the plot for us to, the entire movie, every death that occurs in this movie is in an attempt to save this one person. And after a while, it becomes really hard to justify all that, all the pain coming from it.
I might agree in some ways. And also to that point, it really feels like if America Chavez was literally just a staff that lets you transport across the multiverse, it would have been the same thing. Well, it'd have been like, keep this object away from the bad guy. I mean, the fact that it's a person doesn't really change or add anything. I mean,
and I guess the sort of like, someone would be like, oh, well, like, they couldn't just give her to Wanda because then Wanda would have all the power to destroy the world. There are multiple times, like, it's shown early in the movie that a solution could have been Doctor Strange taking her power where he could control it and sort of save the day. Though the question then becomes, would Doctor Strange have misused the power? Maybe. We get the indication that we have a good Doctor Strange in this multiverse at the end of the movie, but we also get the indication that he's maybe corrupted. Charlize Theron shows up. It's wild.
Yeah. So I want to say that I think what they were going for is saying, like, there's a quick, easy, and immoral way to get to what is the greater good, essentially, which is like, kill America. I mean, even the very start of the movie sets sort of that idea that Doctor Strange says, hey, kid, I tried, but this is what we got to do now. You got to die, and I'm going to take the power, and we're going to keep everything safe here. And then I think maybe to the point you're saying, I'm trying to offer somewhat of a counterpoint. Not that I entirely am on this side, but and I think they try to toy with that, where it's like it keeps being dangerous situations where it is literally the sacrifice of all Kamar-Taj, and then a whole nother universe, and all these different people have to keep dying to protect her. And it says, but if heroes chose to do the quick, easy, good thing, would we be heroes? Would it just be like, we should probably just slit her throat, take her powers, and this would all be good and fixed, right? Like,
well, yeah, there's another question. Like, if the issue was just the misuse of her power, like, she could literally just be killed without anybody taking her power. And then what's Wanda gonna do, really? Because but then maybe she goes mad and crazy and blah blah blah, and we don't get to the finale. And I get all of that. Like, it serves the story, but going back to my initial criticism, she's just not given a character. Yeah. In fact, and I've heard this criticism that I think some of the characterizations of even the main characters are kind of off in this movie. Because Wanda, I've said it many times, I loved WandaVision. That show was great, and it really sets up her character. And then this movie just decides, all of the nuance of her character is cool, but this time she's just crazy and just wants the kids and doesn't care who she has to kill to get there. And there's no reasoning with her whatsoever.
I mean,
basically, the only person that could reason with her is herself and her kids. And
I I don't want I wouldn't actually be too crazy critical on that necessary point because one, okay, I think after WandaVision, I mean that is an easy, we do see the setup where she could be like kind of broken from that. And then she has the Darkhold, and the Darkhold basically corrupts her, right? So we can see the corruption of what is I think the actual like antagonistic value here, her as a villain, a villain is one thing I do like, is that it is something you connect with. It's a mother that wants to get her children, and all she and in some ways she's just saying, hey, just give me her power. All I want is that kid, this one kid. I don't need anything else. Nobody else has to die, nothing else. But I am going to rip this kid's power from her so I can go get my kids.
Oh, her portrayal as a villain in this movie, phenomenal. Like Elizabeth Olsen, great actress, the highlight of the film anytime she's on screen.
Yeah, she is great. She's one of the good things about this movie.
But I just feel like now WandaVision, the show, feels like a setup to this movie for her to just like sort of like, all right, we're building up. We need to establish why she's a villain in this movie. And so that's the entire purpose of WandaVision. Also to shoot in the Marvels and whatever other things that show seeded. And that makes that show feel a lot more hollow to me now, because was it just to set up that she was going to be Doctor Strange's bad guy?
Yeah, which I think is a little bit of a waste. It does seem like a waste to have this. That's kind of what I thought too. I'm like, this whole show, which had dealt with some really interesting stuff, was just to make her a villain. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
It seems like very, it's not lazy, but I'm thinking like, it just seems too, like you could have done more. You had more potential there.
And I understand her redemption coming through herself and through her boys in the end. But again, like, it seems like a waste that her redemption doesn't at least be correlated to Vision, and that there's no, I understand from a contractual aspect, like they didn't get Paul Bettany on for this movie, but like he's an important factor in her life, and it seemed like she was bent on getting to a world with her kids, but never once mentions a world with her kids and Vision, because I'm sure there's plenty of worlds where she has both.
And I think that's just the only thing I can think about that is it's strictly the contractual.
Yeah, they just couldn't get Paul Bettany, and that feels like, okay, cool.
And so instead of then her saying with Vision and then just glossing over more, they just didn't. Which is, again, it's not ideal, but I can accept her saying, I'm just focused on the kids, and just accepting Vision's gone or whatever.
It's hard for me to accept that, though, because the entirety of WandaVision was based around her wanting to retain the life with Vision.
Yeah.
And the kids were just a result of that. Yeah. And so, like, I understand her having a stronger love for the kids, but the kids came after Vision. Yeah. So, and that's just a small thing. Again, the larger issue is that it just feels like a waste of Wanda. It feels like a waste of this actress. And the solution is that, okay, we're going to get other multiverse Wandas, so she's not gone for good. Or maybe when she collapsed that whole tower on herself, she didn't really die, so we can just bring her back. And then, yeah, and it feels like honestly, when she died like that, I was like, okay, we're gonna get some Loki thing, and then she's gonna come back, because you can't get rid of her. She's too good of a character. You know what? Maybe they do.
Hey, I think I pointed this out to you, is that in the act where she is, the thing crushes her and it's falling all over, there's this wide shot and there's this little puff of like red stuff. And I'm like, that right there is all you need to say, boom, she poofed herself out.
Yeah, but like, and then that makes it feel like weirdly like, then why was she in there at all if she was just going to survive it? And yeah. And then the Darkhold established in WandaVision is removed from the multiverse at the end of this movie. Again, WandaVision just feels like the pretense for this movie to exist.
Yeah, which sometimes makes you think, I mean, I don't know what kind of Captain America type movie is on the horizon, but is Captain America and Winter Soldier just a setup for the Captain America-ish movie that'll come eventually?
See, like that one I wouldn't even mind that, though, because it's a Falcon and the Winter Soldier show being related to a Captain America movie where he becomes Captain America. That tracks. But if the WandaVision show about Wanda and Vision is just to set up a Doctor Strange narrative, it feels like, yeah, it's the entire justification of this show is to build on the character of Doctor Strange.
Yep. And that's kind of in some ways a failing, but it is what it is there, I guess. So that is a criticism I would essentially agree with. Let me jump to maybe something good I can say is, and this would extend to multiple things throughout the movie, but okay, so Disney has been experimenting with sort of different kind of genres of TV show and movie with some of the things that they've been doing. And I've liked this experimentation. I don't think it's landed in a lot of different ways. Like some of them have just not been great. However, this movie, without going into it, I reflect and see this was an experiment with a horror thriller type subgenre.
I would say skewing more light horror. It's the kind of horror where if you are a child or you are particularly susceptible to spookiness, then there may be parts of this movie that legitimately scare you, like especially children. Like this is like an MCU movie where I'm like, little kids probably shouldn't watch this, or like they might get a couple nightmares, because like there's a part where zombie Doctor Strange has like bat wings made of demons flying to take down the monstrous Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, watching that scene, a highlight of the movie. Again, I loved it. It was so cool. Like it's like a rock album cover art put onto film, you know? It's like a, yeah. You know what I mean?
I get you. I think that was an awesome, cool moment. One thing I remember thinking, wow, this is a great moment. Was when Wanda is sort of like not only just a lead up to this moment, but when Wanda is chasing them through the tunnels and she's injured her leg, so she's kind of like creeping and she's got her hand out and she's basically moving like a zombie, and the flash is the darkness and chasing it like that's a real thriller kind of moment. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. Like
I thought that was what you were going to bring up, and I 100% agree.
Until
I keep thinking about that the whole scene.
However,
to be honest,
and this is again this is a major singular criticism right here, and it does extend to also other parts of the movie. But that great, amazing scene leads up to what I consider like a terrible scene, which is where our cadre of people stop America and Strange and Christine. They stop, right? One of these little doors that they've been closing closes, and they stop. They turn around and they stare at the door, and then they don't do anything for moments, many moments, like seconds go by. Probably nearly a minute. And I see what it's trying to do. They're trying to build this tension and stuff. Yeah. However, there is no tension here. Okay, we just watch Wanda easily bust through every single metal door that all the same doors.
Well, the tension is that she hasn't busted through this door yet, and they're thinking, oh, maybe she stopped. Which again, I agree, they shouldn't have stopped. It made no sense for them to just stop running there.
Yeah, and okay, so here's how I thought about it. Yeah, and then so the scene, right? They stop, they sit there and wait. There's all just like, oh my god, what's happening? And then she just phases through the wall, and Doctor Strange has to do a spell and like put her underwater, and then just uses his magic to lift the next wall up. Right. So he could have just done it at any moment. Right. So the scene is just dumb because the scene exists only because it was made to exist. It doesn't.
Yeah, it exists because Sam Raimi wanted to put like a little mini jump scare in this scene.
See, and he could have. All they had to do was not make it be so forced. All he had to do was say the next door, like there's something that's making like they hit a button and it's like slowly climbing upwards. That's all they had to do is make it a real reason that they had to stop. Like they rush up to the wall, it's slowly opening, and they turn around and think that they can't get through, and then nothing's happened. They're waiting. The door's slowly opening, and they're kind of in a panic, and they're like, "Where is she? Why hasn't she come through?" Wham! Boom! That fixes the whole scene.
Yeah, that's a perfect solution.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, exactly. And and if Doctor Strange is like, "Oh, magic to get it open faster" or something like that, or whatever, I don't, But you have to give me a reason that they stopped. They literally just stopped for no reason. Stand there, do nothing, don't continue onwards, stare back behind them. It totally ruined the whole flow for me. It was such a great scene before that, and that came up to that. And I remember sitting there and like we're watching them like just do nothing. Nothing's happening. Literally nothing's happening. They're standing there. And I'm just like, and every second that goes by, I'm just like, what is this? It ruined the whole flow. And that was like tragic because I loved that scene, and it basically ends in what is just like an awful scene.
So I have a bit of a technical question. Actually, no. First, I want to actually get to the end. The end of that scene is them going in and getting to the Book of Ashanti or whatever it was called, and they make the brilliant choice of Christine jumping into this weird little world instead of closing the door behind them so that they can do this thing uninterrupted, or Christine could have jumped through and still closed the door behind them to get take the watch off, make Wanda have to figure out how to get through that door. Instead, they just left it wide open so she could run in, destroy the book, and
that's one of many moments where I'm like, the only reason that you would do it like this is because you just need to continue the plot. Why does Wanda keep Wong alive? Why does she just carry him along with them? There's really no purpose.
So, okay. I mean, yeah.
That's one
It's
thing.
because they don't want to kill off Wong, but they want to use him in this movie. Yeah.
This movie doesn't justify things it does. It just does things that it needs to do. Like, we're just going to keep Wong here, so we can keep some banter, and he needs more screen time and whatever. But it doesn't actually make any practical sense. And they do that so many times in this movie. It again, just ruins the illusion. It makes me sit there and go, why don't they just do that? Why don't they just do this? And it disappoints me. That's the thing that really took me out. And if I watched the movie, I could sit here and be like, that moment, but I can't remember every single one while just sitting here.
Yeah. So the technical question I had, Doctor Strange, his ring is destroyed by Wanda. And so when he and America appear in this new universe where with the Illuminati in it, they are walking on the ground. And my presumption is, he doesn't have his ring. He can't do magic. Then after he gets imprisoned in the block thing, he tries to do the magic. And I'm like, well, you don't have the ring. You wouldn't be able to do it anyways. And then once he gets that thing off, he's able to do the magic because he has the necklace. So when they appeared in this universe, why did he not just portal them to the sanctum they were going to? Why did they need to walk there?
Wait, are you saying that he used his amulet to do the portal spell?
Well, he uses it to lift that door to get the water to come down on Wanda and to try and break into the door to where the Book of Ashanti is. He uses magic. I don't know. Maybe it's limited that he can't do the portal spell, but he can make the water come down on Wanda. He could lift the door and he can try to break the magic lock with just the necklace. He did not have the ring at this point.
Oh, well, I mean, the ring is only to do the portal.
Okay.
It's the sling ring, which is really only specifically to do the portal to wherever he wants to go.
Okay.
So without that, he can't magically transport them. But he can do all his magic without the ring or the
he could have flown?
The flying comes from this cloak of levitation. So that's the cloak.
Okay.
And without the cloak, nobody can fly. Which, I was thinking about it and watching what the sorcerers and stuff in this do. And I'm like, hey, if I could be one of them and have their powers, that would be great. But what I see them all do, they don't really have a lot of cool magic.
The witches have it way cooler.
Yeah, it's way cool. I mean, but you could think okay, maybe their power comes from some darker source, so they're offering more power or something, and yada yada. But all I see that Wong, the Sorcerer Supreme, right? All I see him do is basically conjure weapons and whips and shield type things. Shields made of energy light and light whips and light swords and stuff. And that's pretty much all he does. He doesn't do anything else.
Okay, so I actually want to talk about Wong a little bit because when he first appears in the movie, it's when the tentacle big eye monster is fighting in New York, and he comes out and he's guns ablaze, and I'm like, oh, cool. We finally get badass Wong because he's always just sort of on the side. And at this point, he's going to come in and he's going to save Doctor Strange and it's going to be cool. And then nope, he gets grabbed and he's just he's kind of there.
Ineffectual. And again, this is the Sorcerer Supreme. Why is he not more powerful? Why is okay. And maybe in some ways I get that you have to limit power to a degree. But I feel like, okay, what we saw Doctor Strange do with the fight with Thanos, okay? Why didn't we see anything like that in this fight? The best we saw him do was like he summoned some snakes. He summoned some like arms, some monstrous looking arms to like grab stuff. So I'm like, okay, cool. We got some variety. We got some stuff going on. But what happened to the multiply yourself into 1,000 of you? You know, what happened to these crazy red bands that rip out of the ground and like hold down Thanos and really hold him down?
Well, he had an Infinity Stone at that point.
But we never saw that used or powered up, right? Like we didn't see green light, like any kind of green emanation. It looked like he was just casting spells.
Yeah.
So it's like, why don't I see more of that? I feel like there's so much like missed opportunity to do more with the magic.
This movie feels like they have limited the magic power and made it for a plot function. The magic needs to be less powerful so that Wanda can be more powerful.
Yeah, which they do say, you know, the Scarlet Witch, she can make, you know, bend reality at her whim or whatever, right?
The direct lines from WandaVision is Agatha tells her more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah, which like isn't even a stretch by any imagination also, but I think Wong specifically says like she can bend reality at her will, right? And so that makes sense that she can just basically do anything at any time. Sometimes I think to myself, I'm like, well, why doesn't she do more stuff like?
Yeah, she gets really underpowered a lot of the time.
It seems like, I mean, and I think to myself, I'm like, well, again, I can accept them reining her in a little more, but the fact that she can do stuff like this, right? The guy that can do the crazy scream that just like annihilates you, she literally made his mouth disappear. Okay, she made John Krasinski turned him into ribbons, right? Then has a prolonged fight with Captain Carter and kills her by throwing her shield back at her and cutting her in half. And I'm like, why don't you just do stuff like you just did to those guys and just like kind of just, you know, like make her arms turn into nothing or something?
And why doesn't she in every interaction with Strange, like when she's chasing after Strange, does she not have the magic power to just stop them?
Yeah, make a wall in front of them that they cannot get through. Which here would be the opportunity for like more magic and stuff to go on, right? Where if she kept throwing up different magical things and he had to go bam, like counter it with his own form of magic. Like I put a wall in front of you. He's like, I turn the wall into water or something. You know, like I can't define exactly how their powers work, but that would have been such a more creative way to pit like two different kinds of magic, right? Like maybe characterize her magic as being more dark in some ways, more reality bending, and his was like, and his is natural law. Like, so like, you know, she creates something that's unnatural and he makes it more natural and overcomes it. That'd be such a more creative way to show the pit these two kinds of magics versus each other, versus just like whenever we want cool stuff to happen, it happens. But whenever otherwise, like whenever we want Wanda to do something cool, like make a mouth disappear or turn Mr. Fantastic into ribbons, that can happen. But otherwise, she can just throw blasts of red energy. If she sits there and thinks about it long enough, she can actually get into the minds of people like behind the shield. But like until she remembers, she's just gonna shoot red blasts at them. You know, it's so like this whole movie is plagued by this, where it's like we only do things when it serves the plot, but not like, or when it serves the narrative, but not like it doesn't necessarily make sense.
Yeah. Also, real quick, Professor X also. I get that his appearance in the movie isn't meant to be like pivotal to like he's not supposed to come in and like save the day because that would defeat the purpose. But like his power, he should be able to just sort of like banish Wanda's mind then and there. Like he is like on a class of power equivalent to Wanda, I feel.
If we look at,
especially like, yeah, and it's hard to say, maybe she's not, yeah.
Here, okay, what we've been led up to believe is, at least I will give this somewhat credit, and I want to agree with you. I want to be like, his entire power is just, you know, telepathy and like mental stuff. So like the fact that she can do some of it or something is understandable, but again, this is the point where I'm like, yeah, I guess he's just going to be weak enough that she can beat him, but he can still initiate the mind challenge thing and try to do it and whatever. Again, does it always make sense? I don't know that it always does, and I don't know. It's disappointing. It doesn't make a lot of sense, and it frustrates me a little bit.
So we've talked for a little while now, and we haven't really talked about the main character of this movie. Doctor Strange. And his character is kind of like the pivotal axis around this movie. Like, we see multiple different Doctor Stranges, and like that's sort of, if there is anything interesting going on plot wise in this movie, it's the attempt to show the reflections of Doctor Strange through the other versions of himself. The first version of Doctor Strange we see is willing to kill the kid. And like, he's still trying to do the good thing up to that, but he's willing to kill America to try and fight this demon. Okay. The next Doctor Strange we learn about is one who starts doing the dream walking, the dream waking. Is that, what is it? Dream walking?
Yeah.
Or dream casting? I
think it was dream walking.
Dream walking. Okay. And he did that, and that corrupted him. And so they had to kill him and sacrifice him as a result. Oh, because he caused an incursion and killed a universe. Yeah. And then we get another Doctor Strange. Again, big bad guy, seems really into killing other Doctor Stranges, and has a dark hold. Basically, every Doctor Strange we see that's not our Doctor Strange makes bad choices. And then our Doctor Strange gets a dark hold, starts dream walking, and makes the right choice. And I understand why that should feel like the correct payoff to, like, he's seen how he can go wrong and how this stuff corrupts. But the Darkhold kind of explicitly is supposed to corrupt the person. Like, it's not, it's, I to my understanding, the book literally corrupts the person, and he did the most evil thing in the book, dream walking. That's how it's described. Dream walking is the worst thing in the Darkhold, apparently. Yeah, and it's an unforgivable, and to do it in a dead body, demons literally from hell come to try and take him. And with all of this said, like, when he is literally told by Wong to kill America, he in this moment has the wherewithal and the goodness to be like, no, you know what, kid, you had the power all along. Yeah,
dude. Okay, I kind of, okay,
with the zombie face too, so it's actually kind of funny to watch.
Yeah, I have to say that I sort of like that the resolution in some was showing Wanda the monster that she become. That was a good.
I
like that. Yeah. But yeah, the moment that led to that, it being, yeah, you had the power all along. It's truly just. It's such a, again, it's,
and that's what, and not to bring up again, I don't blame the actress Xochitl
Gomez.
Yeah, I do not blame her performance. I think she does a good job. Like, her character's just not given any arc to warrant her being able to now control it, other than she uses the star power to bust open the glass container that she was in once, and her continuously doing the fear response, opening portals. She, other than that moment in the cage, she shows, which Doctor Strange didn't even see, she gives no indication that she is gaining a control of her power. And so it makes no sense for him to do that in that moment. And it's wild that Wong is the one that has the corrupt thought of, you have to kill her. Like, it literally makes Wong a weaker character in that moment, because he wants Doctor Strange to do the easy thing. And Doctor Strange is the one, after tapping into the Darkhold, to make the good decision.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a really kind of forced way to try and highlight that this Strange is so heroic. And I don't know that it's a corrupt thing, but it is pragmatic. It's a pragmatic. It says, hey, man, we pushed it all the way to the thing. Like, Wong did try to do. I mean, he basically sacrificed so many of people that were his, like, in his care. He was like, I'm Sorcerer Supreme, and we'll stand against you, all of us, to the point where we are dying and people sacrifice themselves. And so but in the end, he's like, dude, we're down to the limits here, man. There's nothing else. You got to just kill her. And yeah, for Strange.
Well, then why is Wong telling Strange, who is clearly dreamwalking a zombie, to be the one to take the power? Why does Wong not then take that moment to take the power for himself? Because the movie's not called Wong in the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, it's just
he's the Sorcerer Supreme. He should be the one to have to make that tough call. Instead, he tries to force it on Strange, who then gets to have the hero moment.
Yeah, it's such, oh man, like it's stuff like that where I'm like, the fact that Wong is Sorcerer Supreme because Doctor Strange was gone, but then basically Doctor Strange is just allowed to do whatever he wants, and like, and also, and apparently is a far superior sorcerer than Wong. Wong cannot do any of the other cool, exceptional things that Strange can. Wong can summon weapons. That's all he does. He summons weapons and does a little bit of kung fu. Like, it's really sad in some ways. I'm like, let Wong be powerful.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think Wong I appreciate his continued appearance in multiple MCU movies, but he is kind of short shafted in this, and like kind of like disposable, and like he's literally like hoisted along by Wanda to be her little like underling to help her to the Darkhold, which again, like the Sorcerer Supreme, like is supposed to be like so sacrificial to like prevent bad things from happening, but 4 of his men are being choked to death and tortured, and he's just like, all right, let's give you the Darkhold.
Okay, that was in one of those glaring moments where I'm like, dude, you literally just handed it over to her for really nothing. Like, dude, just watch them suffer. Let them die. Let you die. Like, you should be willing to die for this. You should be willing to let them die for it.
When you teleport her to the mountain that she could not find on her own, and none of the other people alive can do it, you could have teleported her anywhere else, let her kill you, and she's fucked.
Yeah, it's
you could have just lied.
Yeah, it's it's one of those moments where it's like, well, we have to get her over here, so she'll just torture a couple people, and Wong will just give it right up. I'm like, dude. Again, you know what? Wong is almost given the same treatment that America Chavez is. Really, where you're there to like serve this kind of narrative that they wanted to put to make happen, but like they don't really have any agency.
The distinction between them is America Chavez is treated like a prop. Wong is just Wong's
character is sacrificed.
Is like a useless character.
His actual character is sacrificed for the sake of this narrative. Like, instead of him being a character that has, like, again, supposed to be Sorcerer Supreme, should have, like, greater, higher morals, be really powerful. It's like, no, he needs to not be powerful so it doesn't upstage Doctor Strange, and he needs to not have strong enough morals to resist Wanda and get her to where the Darkhold is.
Yeah, he kind of does corrupt stuff.
Yeah.
Which is wild because, like, in the Spider-Man movie, he's the voice of reason there. Like, Doctor Strange can make the bad decisions in that movie, but in this movie, he's, like... And it's hard to say whether or not he's got the lessons of that movie on his mind, but like he to some extent he has to forget stuff that happened in that movie, and it's all just, I mean, again, this is kind of my point, right? There's a ton of things to criticize. There's a ton of like moments where I'm like, why would they do that? Why did they do this? Why is Wong's character so weak? Why is America Chavez not really like? It's just as much as the criticism I have laid at this movie, I still had a fun time.
Again, I did as well. You know, I enjoyed it. I'm gonna go see it a second time, and I won't feel bad about it. It won't be like a chore, you know. And I'm looking forward to like seeing more things now that like I won't be so distracted by following the story intensely. I'll be able to kind of like look in the background and see more what's going on and try to pay attention to different stuff. Because there's a lot of things like going on at certain points. So there's like a lot to miss, but yeah, there are a ton of small things to criticize and big things to criticize that make this movie just less than it maybe could have been. And here's going into the movie, I had told Ryan beforehand that I actually had sort of very like measured expectations. You know, I thought that this movie could either be really great if they just, you know, did it the right way, or it had the potential to be bad, you know, like it had maybe too much going on and could be bad. So this is not what I would have hoped for, but it's okay.
I can't remember if I had said this out loud, but I have a memory of thinking of this movie as potentially being the what if of MCU movies, where it feels like it has this like potential to be cool and like really shake things up, and then at the end of the day just sort of lets you down in the way that What If did. And that's kind of what this movie is.
Yeah, Ryan, you did point that out. Is that I even had the expectation that this was going to be wow, we're pulling all these different things and we're really going to do a lot, and it didn't really. It was just Doctor Strange, and he did go through multiverses, and we did get an X-Men reference and a Fantastic Four reference. They exist somewhere, but it wasn't like a bringing all these things into.
But when the last MCU movie was another like multiverse opening movie that did it so exceptionally well. And there have been other multiverse movies, like, or at least the Spider-Verse again, that does that thing so exceptionally well. Like, for it to just be like this weird, like, oh, we're gonna hop into a couple of these universes and it's gonna be real fun, but everything done in that other universe is inconsequential because it's not our universe. And like the only thing felt consequence in the prime MCU universe at the end of the movie is America Chavez is alive and there, and Wanda is maybe gone.
Speaking of, I just had this thought, right? All right, America Chavez, right? We've already talked about how her character has kind of done dirty a little bit in this movie. Okay. We see a thing about her parents, right? Oh my God, terrible memory. Lost my parents. That was blah, 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 blah. I sucked them into a portal. It was my fault. They're probably dead somewhere. Doctor Strange is like, well, America, that was all for a purpose. Even that time, because it led you to be right here. And then later, which is a terrible thing. I'm like, yeah, it was important for you to be right here, right now. That's why your parents had to die. Or, be cast into a portal to potentially her point is entirely valid. Doctor Strange, they're the vast multiverse. They're not all just like, another universe that's slightly different. A lot of them are probably just like, a black hole.
Hey, her parents could be Paint.
They could be, again, you could be cast in the Paint universe. Yeah, one of these universes is just Paint, Yeah. But then he kind of says, like later, I wish they could see us. And he's like, oh, well, maybe you will find them one day. And it's like, wait a minute, didn't you just get control of your powers? Can't you just go find them now, America? Wouldn't that be a thing to do instead of like training to be to learn powers that aren't nearly as good as yours? Like,
I mean, that would make too much sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it might be, I don't know. I guess whatever. She'll just hunker down until maybe she has the gumption to go look for them.
Okay, so this movie, as I have heard, has gone through rewrites, reshoots, schedule changes because it was supposed to come out prior to some of these Disney Plus shows, but because of the pandemic, they had to change stuff around. Doctor Strange was supposed to appear in WandaVision, but they had to cut that out. All these sort of things. So I understand the MCU has to make things work around to get things blah, blah, blah. So how hard would it have been for them to get America Chavez to appear somewhere in one of the MCU Disney Plus shows just to sort of establish her character so that this movie, when we see her in the movie, it's just not out of nowhere seeing her for the first time? Like, how difficult would it have been for her to just like pop up like in the background as a note in like Loki or something, as like, oh yeah, we've been watching this one. But yeah, and then also Loki just doesn't even we don't need to talk about that.
I see how Loki, its placement, it was actually so important because we recognize now, it's not specifically said in any of those later movies, but if Loki events do not occur, all these movies can occur because Time Variance Authority shows up and goes blap and like kills people that fuck all that run through the multiverse. Like incursions don't occur if the Time Variance Authority exists, right? Because nobody's allowed to do that.
Yeah, but that's the implication. But then at the end of Loki, the TVA looks like it's still around and it's just been reformed under.
Then how does all this stuff even happen?
And like the way that Loki, the TVA thing doesn't really, it's going to play out in Loki season 2, so I'll give it that. But it's so we thinking about the multiverse is kind of too complicated. And honestly, I went into this movie hoping that it would break the multiverse so much more than it did, and it really didn't. And that's kind of another big criticism is that I feel like this movie, and this is maybe an expectation thing, and you already touched upon how I said that this movie could have been more, but it really just feels like it didn't do nearly enough with the potential.
Yeah, I agree. All at the end of this movie, what we have is potentially one less strong character in the MCU. Doctor Strange really has not fundamentally changed at all.
He has an eye on his head.
He has an eye on his forehead. That's the major change at the end of this movie. What has changed about Doctor Strange? What kind of arc has he had? He was willing to not be afraid of love and told not even his Christine that he loved her.
Yeah.
So I guess that's his arc and development. But as we have Doctor Strange that's got an eye on his head and is just ever so slightly more corrupted by the Darkhold, and we have a couple vehicles to maybe break through the multiverse a little more. Right? We have America Chavez exists now, and apparently laser, hole cutting, Charlize Theron.
The credit said her name was Clea. I don't know what character that refers to.
I don't know either. I haven't really seen any things. Eventually I'm gonna go watch one of these like Easter eggs recap, like tell me all the stuff, but I'm gonna wait until my second viewing of Doctor Strange to do that.
Like there's not like this is not a character who appears out of nowhere and you're like, oh, I know who that is. This is very much the Harry Styles at the end of Eternals moment where it doesn't matter if you know who this character is, you know who the actor is, and that's what's exciting.
Yeah, you're like, wow, Charlize Theron's in the MCU now? Crazy, dude.
Wow.
But yeah, at the end of this movie, we just don't really have a lot. We didn't really gain much for the MCU. And this movie should have had the potential to add a lot more in the MCU. I guess also we have the potential, the tease that the Fantastic Four and the X-Men exist in some universe, and so they could be making their way to 616, which I guess now, hey, one thing we do also have is that they confirmed, hey, you are Earth 616, and now that is canon.
Yeah, but like the way they do it is just so like it's canon in that universe where they're giving numbers to the universes.
Yeah,
but there could be another version of the multiverse where they are giving different numbers. Like
you guys are on Earth Glorp, and we're on Earth King Klaatu.
So. Like the Paint universe has very different perspectives on this situation. We actually haven't that whole sequence where they're jumping universes. That is super cool to watch. That is again one of the highlights of the movie is just watching them go through universes. But again, I think it went on a little too long.
Yeah,
I remember being like, "Oh, this is really cool." Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow. More. Okay.
So yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, there's a few moments that are like, when does this end?
The movie was long.
Yeah.
And it felt it.
So, I mean, do you have any other points or moments that you can think of to
Nothing about the movie. I'm sorry for being so negative on this one.
I don't think okay. I think there's a lot of specific, like, we have to elaborate on what's negative, right? Because I think on a surface level, this movie looks like a lot of cool stuff's going on, but like when you get down to like the things that we discussed, like there's just some stuff that's lacking here. And I think that's the value, and us talking about it is really identifying the things that aren't as good here.
Rachel McAdams does a good job as Christine.
Yeah, she's pretty good. Like the acting's all like pretty much decent. Elizabeth Olsen, fantastic.
Great.
She is like
highlight. Love her.
So
again, and that's why I get frustrated at her character just kind of like being written off in the end. But hey, we have the potential to see her again. Maybe it was too much to ask for the House of M, like bring mutants into the universe, because it's such a weird thing that her goal was to go to a universe where her kids exist. Doesn't she have the power to just make her kids real in this universe with the Darkhold? I don't know. Apparently she doesn't.
Yeah, apparently not.
But she has so much other power. Like it's weird. I don't know.
So I don't know if I have anything else to really say about the movie. Even if it seems like we've been negative, again, it's a B movie, and that's not a bad rating. You know, it's still I'd recommend going to see it in theaters. You know, it's worth seeing.
It's definitely not the worst MCU movie.
I wouldn't rush to see it. I might even say to wait until the Tuesday discount day.
My hot take is that Eternals is 100% better than it.
Ooh, I had to really think about that more because I didn't, if you watched our Eternals episode, I didn't have amazing, opinions about Eternals.
They're very different movies. Like Eternals,
they are.
Yeah.
Eternals just is what it is. And in some ways, maybe that makes it a little, I don't think, okay, Eternals doesn't have glaring moments that I could criticize like this movie does. And actually, I might give it to you that Eternals is better just for that reason. Like, this movie just has glaring moments that are like, this was a bad moment. This shouldn't be in the movie.
Doctor Strange took 3 established characters, like at the very least, took 2 established MCU characters and didn't really service them that well. Eternals took 10 brand new MCU characters and at the very least built solid, likable personalities on a good third of them.
Yeah. Okay. That's totally fair. And in that way, I will give that to you. I didn't really have a great opinion of Eternals, but what did I even rate Eternals?
I think you probably gave it a B+ or a B.
I think I probably gave it a B. Also,
I gave it an A-. I quite like that.
I think maybe I think after our discussion, you might have had a higher opinion, and I had a lower opinion. I think we met closer to the middle, but still, we're mine might have went up to a B+, and yours came down to an A-. So, but yeah, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. That's pretty much, I think, everything I've got to say.
Yeah, same here.
So, yeah, well, until next time, folks, this has been Robert.
And Ryan.
Have a good one.
Man, Sam Raimi really did Bruce Campbell dirty, though.
Oh, my God.